Assalamu alaikum ji and Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Very warm welcome to today's fireside chat session on behalf of Noor International University. मेरा नाम है सालिम रहमान. I'll be the host for the evening और आज हमें join कर रहे हैं Ahmed Hussain. Ahmed, assalamu alaikum and thank you for joining.
Alaikum. Thank you, Salim, for having me for this chat.
Perfect. So Ahmed, just जो हमारा usual style होता है, एक quick हम brief देते हैं about what Noor International University is about और जो हम programs run कर रहे हैं. I'll come back and then inshallah we will do आपका formal तारुफ एक करवाएंगे with our audience for today. So over to the admin team for the intro. Great, thank you very much, admin team. So welcome back, and Ahmed, thank you again. आपका एक formal हम तारुफ करवा देते हैं to our people listening live to us right now, as well as जो हमें बाद में सुनेंगे on the recording on our Facebook page as well as on Noor International's website. So Ahmed Shahid Hussain is the Director and Chief Strategy Officer of Service Sales Corporation, also known as SSC, which is the largest footwear retailer of Pakistan with brands like Service, Endure, Calza, and Shoe Planet. Mr. Ahmed's previous experience has been with Microsoft Corporation in Seattle, USA, where he was a program manager and he held 4 patents, mashallah, under his belt. Fantastic. With a background in software and a passion for technology, Ahmed is also on the advisory board of National Incubation Center, Lahore, NIC, as well as currently serving as the chapter chair for YPO Indus. He has a master's degree in electrical and computer engineering from Carnegie Mellon University. Fantastic profile, mashallah, Ahmed, and we're really glad कि आपने time निकाला और हमें join किया. So before we get on to our topic for today, which is about fashion in retail and e-commerce in Pakistan, अपनी professional journey के बारे में बताइए. It's a very interesting background. आपका जो educational background है, जहाँ से आपने शुरू किया with Microsoft and mashallah now in the footwear business. थोड़ा सा, if you can just spend a couple of minutes on that, and then we'll come back and launch into a Q&A. Over to you.
Thank you, Salim. Thanks for the generous introduction. So very quickly, मैंने शुरू तो I will start from my university days. When I undergraduate भी USA में किया था from Carnegie Mellon. Before that, Aitken College, Lahore से मेरी education है. And my first job, which I consider fairly employment, was during university. Sophomore year, I started doing some part-time jobs, and also it was more out of necessity, but eventually it turned into a situation जहाँ एक वक्त में मैं 4 jobs कर रहा था, apart from doing my studies. So that's where I started from. After that, I went straight from undergraduate to I did my master's in electrical and computer engineering. And before graduation, I got an offer from Microsoft. Microsoft is based in Seattle, so I accepted that offer and moved straight out of college to Microsoft. And वहाँ पे मैंने कोई 4.5 years गुजारे. And it was, a very unique experience. It was a wonderful time to be in technology, in the technology sector, and बहुत fast-paced job था. The work culture there, अब मैं compare करता हूँ the Pakistani culture in Pakistan versus the international culture. And I had a tremendous journey वहाँ पे. But in 2011, I moved back to Pakistan, and I joined my family business, which is SSC, service shoes primarily. And for the last 11 years, I've been working in retail and in the footwear sector. So that's a very quick. It was a big change coming from technology into retail and fashion.
So इसी के बारे में अगर which is a perfect segue I think into our conversation and topic आज का जो है कि आपने you chose to enter both the fashion space and the retail space, both of which were I think एक तरह से really evolving in Pakistan at the time that you joined. So tell us about your experience in the retail industry as a first, and then mashallah building a brand. You built upon of course the service brand and so on. उसके बारे में बताइए, and then we'll jump into the e-commerce end. So if you could tell us about the retail and the fashion end first.
Sure. So I think before I get specifically into retail and fashion, I just want to touch quickly upon the journey from the US back to Pakistan, because ये भी एक बहुत interesting experience था. In 4.5 years working abroad, that's enough to get a very good idea of work culture and work ethic आपकी बहुत बन जाती है. So जब मैं नया वापस आया था, I remember my first few days in the business, and एक बहुत important meeting हो रही थी. So everyone sat down, and बहुत serious meeting I was leading it. We came to a conclusion, and सारे मेरी आदत होती थी Microsoft में कि every time, this is just a small example of work ethic, but before the meeting, you have to come up with an agenda. It has to be detailed. कि आपने आज achieve, आज हम मिल क्यों रहे? Why are we all together? What problem are we solving? And when we get up to leave, there has to be some decision that has been made. And उस decision के follow-up action items होते हैं. तो meeting बड़ी लंबी हुई. हम उठे 2 घंटे के बाद. तो someone deadline की बात हुई. तो someone said कि हाँ जी इस दिन तक हो जाएगा. So let's meet again in 2 days to see progress. Yeah. So my colleague says कि जी हम इस दिन मिलेंगे, second half में मिलेंगे. And for a few seconds I was dumbfounded कि what is the second half? मैं अपनी घड़ी देखना शुरू हो गया कि कहीं second half लिखा नहीं है. So what do you mean second half? And that's symbolic of the culture in the sense that it was very different, easygoing था. वहाँ पे तो US में काम करते हुए आपका आधा घंटा scheduled होता था. For weeks in advance we used to have project plans ready. Everyone का work timelines detailed and spelled out. यहाँ पे Pakistan it's much more easier. And so that was my first battle, आप कह लें, which is overcoming work culture and ये cultural change लाना and इसको drive करना. We did a lot of that in the company. Journey बहुत ज़्यादा रही है, and I think the need for change is getting stronger as we move along in our journey. The change from technology to fashion and retail, I took it personally as a learning experience because I was always comfortable with numbers. I was always comfortable in analysis, predicting, outcomes, solving problems. I was good at that. Fashion is not about solving a problem. It is fulfilling a need. Need को आप identify कैसे करते हैं? You can't ask anyone. One of the things I learned on earlier in my career in fashion was, there's a saying that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. That's not the case in fashion. You can't, मैं आपको एक बहुत concrete example देता हूँ. आज, if I go and do a survey of consumers and show them some of my products, okay, look, I'm about to launch these products in the next season. What do you think? And इसकी study कर लें, for example, get feedback from consumer feedback ले लें. It's actually misrepresentative and misleading काफी ज़्यादा हद तक, because what ends up happening is consumer gives their opinion based on today's trends and fashions, whereas as a retailer or a fashion brand, we have to predict fashion. हम पीछे नहीं, rear view mirror में नहीं देख सकते कि आज क्या fashion है, and उसकी basis पर take a decision for tomorrow. So it's a very different ball game altogether.
बिल्कुल आपने सही कहा अहमद के I think from two things. I think the moving from a very structured environment into a relatively non-structured environment, the way जो हमारा कॉर्पोरेट कल्चर है बहुत फर्क है अमेरिका से, वो भी, और अक्सर आई थिंक हमें पाकिस्तानियों के लिए भी एक रिवर्स कल्चर शॉक होता है कमिंग बैक फ्रॉम अब्रॉड इन हैविंग ग्रोन अप इन एन एनवायरनमेंट जो कि बहुत स्ट्रक्चर्ड और हाई पेस्ड फास्ट पेस्ड है, और आप यहाँ पे आते हो रिलेटिवली आई थिंक आपने अपना वो टैक्ट सेट करना होता है फिर से ऑन रिकैलिब्रेटिंग. दूसरी बात जो आपने कही कि एक एवोल्यूशन आई थिंक प्रॉबेबली आपकी अपनी पर्सनल भी हुई और आपकी टीम की भी एवोल्यूशन हुई इन द वे दैट यू प्रॉबली अप्रोच द प्रॉब्लम, जिसमें आपने कहा बहुत एम्पिरिकली ओरिएंटेड है. तो वहां से अगर हम थोड़ा सा इसको फुलफिलिंग अ नीड वाली बात करें, आपने कहा कि जी the historical behavior is no predictor of the future, and यहाँ पे जब स्पेशली फैशन में आप आए और आपने रिटेल साइड पे इसको एक्सट्रैपोलेट किया, तो what do you think were the major challenges, either overall as a new area to get into, or from the Pakistan specific perspective? यहाँ पे I think market research, market data is not very common, unlike let's say structured environments in the developed world. What were the markers that you set for yourself? Because I think this is often, and because हमारे बहुत सारी audience are students who are going to be hitting real life very soon, we often say कि academic environment में आप एक microcosm में होते हैं, and that's a well-defined microcosm in the real world. These are real world situations which will be thrown at you. You will not find, let's say, the perfect solution, but you will find the best solution, which in your mind is probably one which can be which can fit into the framework that you have created for yourself. So उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा हमें guide किए कि in your real world scenario, how did you approach this unempirical view?
So I think that's a great question, Salim. How is it different from theory? And मैं थोड़ी सी चीजें शेयर करता हूँ. So first of all, I want to share with the audience के what is the state of Pakistan in this sector? हमारी economy का क्या state है, and that will give an idea of what the scope of the challenge is across. If you take every shoe brand that you can name, ठीक है, सबके अभी नाम अगर हम ले लें आप में बैठ के, Bata हो गया, Service हो गया, you've got स्टाइलो, ECS, बोरजान, हश पपीज, ये सब के आप नाम ले लें, जितने भी आपको नाम आते हैं. When you add all of them up, they make a surprisingly small number in terms of market share. Okay? And that's a key thing to understand Pakistan. If you add all of them up, I feel that the market share they all represent combined is less than 30%, which begs the question कि अच्छा 70% पे market है क्या? अगर हमने सारे ही नाम ले लिए and ये सिर्फ 30 तक add up किया तो rest क्या चीज है? And ये हालत, I can tell you, it's even worse in the apparel sector. कपड़ों के sector में ये number इससे भी शायद कम है. And a lot of this has to do with, like you were saying, there are no market studies. When I first came back, market share की ये number भी जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, there's no study which backs up this market share number. ये हमने एक private study कराई थी, and it's been many years since we got this study done. After that, उसके बाद हमने extrapolation की या study की to derive कि हम अभी कहाँ हैं. But these are very low numbers. It shows two things. Number one, कि opportunity बहुत ज़्यादा है. There's a lot of room in the market to play. Number two, that it gives you an idea कि आपका competition पे है कौन. Who do you compete against? What are the choices that the consumers have? And choices बहुत ज़्यादा हैं. There's a large amount of unbranded product across a lot of sectors in Pakistan. So अब आपने journey की बात की, journey पे मैं lightly touch on कर देता हूँ, then we can talk more about how to tackle it. शुरू में of course we did try to look at the numbers. ठीक है, हमने numbers देखे, हमने कहा अच्छा market share, हमने पहले अपना goal रखा कि every year we need to increase our market share by 1%. Then we tracked that KPI for a while. We followed that. Then after a while, we said, Acha, now let's look at our biggest competitor. So हमारा service primary brand है, our biggest competitor is Bata. So हमने कहा अच्छा Bata को beat करना. That's our goal. And काफी साल हम उसके पीछे लगे रहे. And finally, now the realization is, and this realization has been there for a few years now, कि it is at 70%. So we are not going to go after all the people you can think of. We are going to go after the 70%, which is all the people you cannot think of. So that's how we approach the market right now.
And अहमद, इसी लाइन को हम कंटिन्यू करें. आपने मार्केट साइजिंग की बात की, तो the very famous Harvard professor C.K. Prahlad's The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid. आपने पाकिस्तान की बात की कि हम in one respect हमारी बहुत ज़्यादा evolution हुई है in our retail, in our consumer sector business, and I can understand कि footwear in particular within the fashion industry let's say may not be top of mind as far as consumerism is concerned, लेकिन आपको evolutionary क्या वो changes नजर आए हैं given the fact कि हमारी 210 मिलियन की आबादी है. let's say अगर उसमें से आप जो एक growing middle class है उसको भी target करें, as well as the fact कि हमें as a country exposure मिला है from the electronic media, whether it be social media or cable or internet and so on and so forth. तो लोगों का एक ज़हनियत खुली है, which means that the capacity of consumers to digest brands has I would feel evolved, as well as the fact कि आपका जो segment है footwear का, even as the lower class goes to lower middle and then to middle class, तो आपकी एक sector की expansion हुई है. उसको नजरिए उसको सामने रखते हुए, what do you see has been the evolution? Has it been positive, purchasing parity wise? Has it been positive from the breadth of the offering that you have? माशाल्लाह आपने नजर आया हमें कि आपने सर्विस से शुरू करके, एंड्योर से शुरू करके, then multiple और किए, फिर आप retail itself में बहुत ज़्यादा मशरूम किए. That means that the opportunity is there, and it's been there for everybody. How has this impacted this purchasing power wala element, as well as the fact that हमारी capacity to digest brands in this growing abadi, has that been a positive impact for you guys?
Gee, I think it definitely has been positive. And one of the big challenges that we had was breaking away from legacy. Legacy उस चीज को मैं refer करूंगा कि जो हमारी पुरानी success है, that is no longer a guarantee of success for the future. And we were talking just now about what was tough to change management kahan aayi thi, and empirical data and all. So I'll give you a very interesting example. The company and the brand is more than 60 years old now. And one of the one of the big successes we had was in sports shoes. Let's say about 30 years ago, we launched a brand called Cheetah. And across Pakistan, वो काफी बड़ा हो गया, and eventually it became the largest sports shoe brand in the country. And उसकी बहुत मजे की story है, and this is something that I think the students will enjoy and the audience will enjoy. Now, one would imagine कि हमने कोई बड़ी research की, बड़ी study की, and हमने कोई market की need निकाली जिसकी basis पे एक जूता बनाया, उसे market ऐसे कमाल तरीके से किया कि it became mushroom growth हो गई, and lo and behold success हो गया. This is what as an example, this is what any MBA class would love to teach, but I'm afraid this is not what happened. कहानियां काफी ज्यादा follow the same trend जो अभी मैं बताने लगा हूँ. हुआ ये था कि about 30 years ago there was an international company called Puma. आपने सुना होगा, audience ने शायद सुना होगा, it's sports shoe brand. They came to Pakistan and they wanted a shoe. They wanted to design a shoe and have it manufactured by our company. So we, provided them the product, and afterwards the contract खत्म हो गया. तो हमारे पास apparently काफी ज़्यादा leftover raw material रह गया था उस product का. So we took permission from Puma के, look, can we sell this design within our country, because we've got leftover raw material, इसका हमारे पास excess बच गया. So वो कोई about 20,000 pairs worth of stock पड़ा था. तो वो बनाया, market में लेके गए, and lo and behold वो बिक गया. It sold at a tremendous rate, and इतना severe उसका demand आया कि वो हम बनाते गए, and आज तक यकीन माने वो जूते का design ही नहीं change हुआ. And this is something that I find really hard, that आजकल के जमाने में इस तरह की कहानी नहीं बन सकती, that आप एक डिजाइन ऐसा बनाएं जो 20-30 साल के लिए चले, but that's what happened. So now how do we break out of that, because वो एक legacy हमारी बन गई थी, हमारी बहुत financial strength उसके पीछे बन गई थी, उस brand के पीछे, उस product के पीछे, and we really had to we were getting a feeling कि market एकदम से change होने वाली है, and so we really need to move on this one particular product line. So convincing the team internally कि look, ये तो हम करते रहेंगे, this is our success, hopefully inshallah this will continue to be our success, but how do we evolve ourselves beyond this? हम अपनी identity, अपनी vision को उससे बड़ा कैसे करें? So that was a big challenge to tell everyone कि look, just hold on for a second, इसको साथ side पर रहने दें, ये करते रहते हैं, but इसके फर्ज करें एक दिन हमारे पास ये नहीं होता तो क्या करेंगे हम? And that's a challenge we took on. वहां से हमने brands के ऊपर और काम किया. Social media and internet की वजह से I think जितना change पिछले 5 सालों में आया, इतना कभी पहले नहीं आया पाकिस्तान में, and इतना ये change exponential है, and ये unending है. Next 5 years will be even faster than the previous 5 years in terms of change. And the consumer consumer connect on international trends. That's the best way I can put it. Because before 10 साल पहले आप देखें, हम पाकिस्तान isolation में था in terms of average consumer, कि average consumer की क्या need थी, क्या vision क्या थी, what they want. I show a slide. I talk about this thing in some of my presentations. If you look back 15 years ago, those are 5 में आप चले जाए. How many brands in Pakistan, how many national brands can you name in apparel or footwear? And वो literally 5, मैं कहला 5 नाम आते थे. Service था, Bata था, apparel में आप चले जाएं तो Barize होता था, मैं कहला 2-4 और होते थे, that's it. And आज you go to a mall, shopping mall, and brands नहीं खत्म हो रहे, and it's across the country, be it Sindh में भी ऐसा है, Punjab, it's across, and the reason for that is social media exposure जो पाकिस्तानीज़ को अब मिला है.
Very true, and Ahmed, this is a great segue into obviously जो हमारा next part of our topic for today, कि COVID-19 impacted everything, obviously all across the board, global pandemic, retail, obviously like brick and mortar retail बहुत ज़्यादा affect हुई. Abhi, I think most parts of the world are reeling from not only the supply chain issues related to getting things to retail, but the retail footfall and so on and so forth, which brings us to the second part of what makes Pakistan very interesting is the e-commerce. So हमें बहुत सारी funding of course नजर आई है in the last well 2 years in particular, but let's say 4 or 5 years ago से पहले तक भी we had started seeing the influx of e-tailing and e-commerce very much prevalent in Pakistan. Obviously footwear presents an interesting challenge because I'm sure you come across this कि नहीं यार try करके पहनना है क्योंकि जूता comfortable होना चाहिए, अच्छा एक पैर नहीं, साइज वो feet can be different, तो दोनों साइज फिर मैंने भाग के भी देखना है, फिर मैंने शीशे में भी देखना है and so on and so forth. So उसके बारे में एक तो general of course evolving landscape with respect to e-commerce and fashion footwear. And the second one, the traditional challenge, which I'm sure footwear in particular faces from the e-commerce angle, which is this try-on phenomena. Over to you.
So I think COVID, like you said, was really tough. COVID की वजह से brick and mortar को बहुत impact हुआ. We have over 400 outlets nationwide across our different brands, and having to shut down these outlets for 2 or 3 months was a severe impact. But I think उसका impact अभी तक खत्म नहीं हुआ, and the impact is multi-dimensional. एक है आपके local business के ऊपर, जिसमें अगर shop बंद हो गई, तो what do? Second impact, आप backward अगर पीछे चलते जाए supply chain के अंदर, तो जैसे जैसे दुकानें बंद होना शुरू हुई, जैसे पूरी commerce across the country slow down हुई, तो obviously orders cut होना शुरू हो गए. Orders, as a multi-brand company, we have orders close to about 100 different vendors, with vendors ranging all the way from, majority of them being in Pakistan, some being in China, and international vendors we have. So once you start cutting orders, ये एक cascading effect आ गया था supply chain के अंदर, and ये सिर्फ हमारा नहीं था. We are talking about global supply chains. एक factory को बंद करना एक बहुत dangerous चीज होती है. It's you have to rehire the labor, you have to एक momentum पकड़नी होती है सारी चीजें. And जो shoe manufacturers हैं, वो पीछे अपने raw material manufacturers उनके होते हैं, वो उनके भी orders cut हो रहे हैं. So सारी चीज को एक बार हॉट जोल्ट जब किया था कोविड ने, रीस्टार्ट करने में बहुत बड़े चैलेंजेस आए थे, और एंड उसके साथ अपॉर्चुनिटीज भी बहुत ज्यादा निकली थी. आई थिंक इट्स पाकिस्तान में there's a rush के एक्सपोर्ट के अंदर बहुत ज्यादा बूम आ रहा है बिकॉज of this exact reason. China की supply chain disruption की वजह से international buyers were running around to wherever they could find product, and by wherever Pakistan somehow showed up on the list. Otherwise Pakistan is a tough place जहाँ business मुश्किल से लोग आते हैं. It's not easy. हमारे पास जब भी export की हम बात करते हैं, so international buyers come and say, look, we can't just come all the way to Pakistan to buy from you. आप जैसे अगर 5 लोग और होंगे, तब जाके ये sector हमारे लिए interesting होगा as a buying house. Now that's a big deal, right? That's fortunately in Pakistan, textile apparel can we are reaching those scales, but footwear maybe we're definitely not there. There's a long way to go. So COVID की वजह से supply chains में opportunities निकली. I remember when March के अंदर lockdown शुरू हुए थे, we reoriented our supply chains, internal consumer facing. हमने एक website put up की within 2 weeks. हमने अपने warehouses को restructure कर दिया in these 2 weeks, and we started selling online. हमारी sales staff जो थी, they were all off because दुकानें बंद थी, तो उनको हमने कहा कि जी now you guys are doing delivery, you guys are packing product, You are doing deliveries. So reoriented the whole thing towards e-commerce. I think one of the best things that happened was e-commerce के first time users exponentially increased करके. And the best example I give is my mother who उनका इंटरनेट अगर डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाए उनके स्मार्टफोन से तो उनकी कॉल आती है कि भाई मेरा इंटरनेट नहीं चल रहा, व्हाट डू आई डू? एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम मेरा जवाब होता है जी वो राउटर लगा हुआ है ना, उसका दीवार से तार निकालें वापस निकालें ठीक हो जाएगा. एंड होता यही है. So if someone like that adopted e-commerce, that's a big deal, and I think that was fantastic for the country.
Very true. And so Amit, just so again, it was second part of the question. So what happens with regards to footwear in particular with e-commerce? Uska challenge, the try it on challenge, and then returns, and so how has that been in particular for you as an industry? It would be great to shed some light on that.
I think that's a great point, and the issue is, if I can repeat what you said, basically जब आप एक shirt लेने जाते हैं, I'll give that example. अगर आपने एक t-shirt लेनी है, and your size is a medium, ठीक है, so आप between different brands medium में कितना फर्क होगा, आधा इंच टाइट है आधा इंच लूज है, फिर भी वो फिट आ जाती है, right? अगर जूते का साइज आपका साइज 10 है and आपको फिटिंग 10.5 की आ रही है, वो बात नहीं बनती है. The shoe has to be 100% perfect in terms of fitting and sizing. And I can tell you very, frankly, that जूतों में ऐसे नहीं होता. Even within our brands, one model of a shoe that is size 10 may have a tighter fitting than a different model of shoe which is size 10. And this is across the world because कुछ जूते होते हैं जो चौड़े आगे से, it's a broad toe shape, तो उनकी grip पाँव के ऊपर different होती है. And if I get technical, जूतों के अंदर, apart from just the shoe size, there's also a fitting convention जो A से लेकर कोई F तक मैं ख्याल जाती है, which is how wide or narrow the fitting is. And पाकिस्तान के अंदर इसकी कोई बात नहीं करना, हमने बस एक अपनी कंपनी में अडॉप्ट की हुई है कि भाई हम इस तरह की फिटिंग करेंगे. So yes, selling shoes online is a challenge, but what we've all experienced is that consumers, number one, consumers want to give e-commerce a try. Pakistani consumers are looking for this kind of convenience. Number two, consumers in Pakistan are wanting to give brands a try. Unbranded के ऊपर अभी भी बहुत बड़ा challenge है. So if a shoe is a generic brand or unbranded or not a well-known brand, उसके ऊपर trust बहुत कम है. So with our legacy that we bring in terms of brands, there's already a trust that we have with our consumers. Number three, realizing this exact issue, we offered a very nice and flexible return exchange policy. We said, okay, look, we've got most likely there's a 95% chance that we have an outlet within 15 minutes of where you live. So if आपको size का issue है, आप go to our nearest outlet, and without questions, we'll change your product. You can even change the product. If you don't like it, get a different model. It's not just a size change करें. So that was that also helped. And finally, even if that's not an option, we have offered we will arrange a reverse pickup for you and send you a new pair. So we've tried to be very flexible in our return and exchange policies.
Fantastic, good. I think mashallah, जिसने आपने बताया कि जी आपने pivot किया and using your store team to pivot to delivery team, and I'm sure there's a whole warehousing team as well which is dealing just with the e-commerce model is probably something. Again, flexibility is key, especially in challenges which probably, well, one hopes once in our lifetime ho is तरह के challenges COVID-19 type. एक मजीद then सवाल begs itself, Ahmed, के e-tailing versus retailing. Obviously, जिस तरह अभी आपने कहा, and it's mashallah fantastic to hear कि 400 outlets, and like you said कि जी कभी return भी करना हो तो you can offer the closest outlet. So the question begs itself कि obviously brand building में प्रेजेंस, चले ऑनलाइन प्रेजेंस तो एक चीज है, बट जो टॉप ऑफ माइंड नजर आता है आपकी स्टोर्स की ब्रांडिंग की वजह से, देयर ग्रेट अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर यू कि जी आप उनको लेबल करें, आपका ब्रांड नजर आए, मॉल में नजर आए, लेट्स से स्ट्रिप मॉल में नजर आए, स्टैंड अलोन नजर आए, व्हाटएवर द केस इज, एक ब्रांड की प्रेजेंस रहती है. हाउ आर यू नाउ कंटेंडिंग विद द फैक्ट के, without sharing anything that may be confidential, कि brick and mortar में investment versus e-tailing में investment, from the perspective of where the future is going, obviously like other parts of the world, Pakistan, especially major cities हमारे KLI जो हैं उसमें rentals are still quite exorbitant. I don't know वो return on investment अब मिलती है या नहीं मिलती. Online presence is much easier, having dark stores is easier. आपका उस पे क्या थॉट है with your business, with fashion in general? What are your observations regarding continuing investment in brick and mortar versus e-tailing?
So I think both channels complement each other, and running both is necessary because I'll share another example. हमने अभी recently what we did was we leveraged our brand Endure, and we said कि हम एक category को we'll do a category expansion, and we added apparel to our shoe brand. Okay, as a shoe brand, you know, हम जैसा brands की भी काफी evolution हुई है. By the way, brands used to be an identity for consumers to buy products, and now I view brands as personalities. Brands have to be a personality which has a two-way communication, and that you know, the brands have to be entities that people can relate to. So हमने apparel डाला, online only डाला शुरू में, कि brick and mortar में नहीं हम अभी जाते. Now the challenge that I've seen is कि if we try to put good quality product, you can't really show quality without touch and feel. And this is true in across apparel as well as footwear. कि you know, अगर आप एक fabric कोई नया डालते हो या कोई अच्छा fabric डालते हो, without touching it as a consumer, you can't tell. I mean, t-shirts बहुत हल्की भी होती हैं and slightly thicker भी होती हैं. So how do you explain that online? हमारी नहीं, globally social media की वजह से the rest time कहते हैं, how long does a consumer stop while scrolling through Facebook में इतना thumb सारा वक्त चलता रहता है ना, to scroll down really quickly, and even in Instagram you're scrolling really fast. So there are studies कि how long do consumers pause at an image, and be it an image or an ad, right? And the duration is extremely small. So how do you convey quality? How do you convey other things when the consumer is not giving you that time? So I think it's necessary to have brick and mortar to, number one, add legitimacy. Number two, I do think it is a profitable channel for sale and will continue to be a profitable channel for sale. And finally, एक जो बहुत interesting चीज आ रही है, you mentioned dark stores. Dark stores का, just for the audience, I'll elaborate on the concept. The concept is it's a small warehouse जहाँ से आप अपनी e-commerce को feed कर रहे हैं without a front end. A front end means कि कोई store नहीं है. It's a small warehouse within the city to be able to do quick deliveries. Now, मेरे पास opportunity क्या है, and this is a supply chain optimization. I have an opportunity कि मेरे पास 400 outlets से stock पड़ा हुआ है. Right? So when I said कि there's a good chance that there's an outlet 15 minutes away from you, well, there's a great chance that I can maybe deliver the product to you really quickly from the nearest location. जिसके अंदर the consumer wins because, you know, that's a quick delivery, that's instant gratification. And मेरे लिए बेहतर है because that's supply chain optimization. I mean, delivery cost उससे reduce होती है. So there's a lot of there's a lot of reasons right now to have a hybrid model across channels.
Very true. बिल्कुल आपने सही कहा. And I think ये Q-commerce, the quick commerce element बहुत ज़्यादा अब I think evolve हो रहा है. Again, पाकिस्तान में grocery delivery भी आ रही है. And वो instant gratification वाला मामला, I think obviously जैसा आपने बताया कि in retail in particular, in the fashion industry, जो evolving demand characteristics of your consumers is going to really drive जो आपका business है, and where to spend money, where to optimize. So timing of your delivery, and perhaps, hey, जैसा आपने कहा कि जी, because try on is something, तो your rider could actually stand there and say, actually आप try कर लें, if you don't like what you see, I'll just carry it back for you. And if you don't like what you see, तो मैं आपको change करके भी ला के दे सकता हूँ. So it could even aid perhaps more sale. And Ahmed, again, थोड़ा सा switching gears a little bit. We have about 5 minutes left. I think for the audience, for you, we interestingly, जो Noor Fatma Memorial System है, we are predominantly a female team, and interestingly, a lot of our students are female dominated. Health sector seems to be more friendly, I guess, towards the female side of the population. And our comms team has put in a very interesting question for us. कि जी, ये एक, traditionally Pakistan में businesses have been male dominated, and especially in the fashion industry. What could you say? What have you seen in terms of evolution for employability of female team members, either in, of course, manufacturing or retail? What any guidance that you can give? How has Service Sales Corporation kind of adopted gender diversity as part of their plan, or what trends do you see in your landscape?
Sure. So I think let me break down the question into two separate pieces, because we are dealing with we do have manufacturing facilities of our own. We've got 2 factories that are running. So there's a big opportunity for female employment there, and part of the reason is that Pakistan may if you look at it, 50% of the population by and large is not part of our workforce, be it labor or intellectual workforce, and that's a very I'd say sad situation, right? And I think these are opportunities are opening up in all areas. So manufacturing, and there's a big we are trying to be specifically looking at projects to have female workforce for particular sections of the factory. So all the way from not just labor in terms of stitching and things like that, but also supervisory roles under, because there's no reason not to, number one. Number two, I think you should not discriminate. The other is, I think Pakistan, it's not just we should not discriminate, we should positively discriminate. So we do have a policy, or rather practice, I should say, that where we do have 2 candidates that are equally poised, we do prefer a female candidate. So this is, that's something that we do on our part to try to promote female employment. In our back-end office, we do have a decent female population. One of the interesting things that has happened is e-commerce area in particular, and I'll pick on this one. This is a hot topic as well. E-commerce, under the average age of the workforce in my e-commerce team is close to half the average age of the other teams, right? Because it is a new phenomena. E-commerce and I'll be very frank. Look, if I wasn't in this sector, if I wasn't in media, fashion, things like that, मुझे TikTok का नहीं पता था. Right? When TikTok came out, that's not something I did or my peers did. It's something I had to learn because of my work. It's something we had to be present, but it's something that this new generation grew up with, right? So हमारी employment के demographics, and अभी male female को छोड़ें अगर एक second, generally जो demographics है वो बहुत ज़्यादा youth की तरफ lean कर रहे हैं because of these changes. And over there, it's an equal opportunity. We find that women are working longer through careers than they were before. पहले एक ये बहुत hesitation होती थी, you can say, industry के अंदर, especially office-based work के अंदर, that if you employ someone straight out of college, a female out of college, there are chances that she will leave after she gets married, which whenever after she gets married or when she has kids. And that's something that the industry has to own as well. How do we prevent that from happening? So things like, paternity leave, हमने उसकी positive policies बनाई हुई, and that while a mother is expecting, we give full pay leave to her for a long time, which extends beyond goes beyond after the child is born. उसके बाद भी कुछ महीने they can take off and stay at home. So things like that, those are challenges that the industry has to take up, and we have to take ownership of this problem and not anyone else.
Yeah, and Marshall, I'm glad to hear SSC is doing its part in promoting the empowering and in a class जो आपने बिल्कुल सही किया कि जी आपने gender bias the other way किया. You actually seek to promote female employment overall. So that's great. Parting question, because we're pretty much at time, but I think the question is interesting when आपने trend analysis की बात की कि where do you see the Pakistani fashion industry vis-a-vis the international market? We are almost in 2022. Any interesting trends to watch out for in 2022, in your opinion, your view of the landscape?
Look, there's a lot happening right now, and I'm very upbeat on what's happening in Pakistan, because it's a tremendous journey. One of the 5 sectors जो किसी भी country के industrialization journey में होते हैं, उसके अंदर textile and footwear are both present in the first 5 sectors. Part of the reason is Pakistan की abhi filhal labor rates are very low, which gives a huge advantage to export, which is why you're seeing export के अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा boom है. There's a big boom in this. So there's opportunities all along the supply chain. I know people in European countries who are desperate, looking for any niche product lines. And mashallah, Pakistan mein wo buying houses ka bhi concept काफी strong हो गया, where you've got middle companies that link buyer and seller. So uski wajah se there's massive outsourcing of branded products. You can go to these even smaller units जहाँ पे आपके पास ज़्यादा की कपड़े बन रहे हैं, things like that. So I think this is a really good time to be part of this. I think the eventual excitement, or the eventual thing will be, can a Pakistani brand make it successful internationally? And that's what I'm really looking forward to. That is the ultimate goal, because that is full value addition, right? Manufacturing for someone else is one of the smallest value additions you can do. Then exporting a branded product is next thing. And then finally, koi Pakistani brand, once they make it big internationally, that's going to be something that we should all celebrate and look forward to. And I think that will happen. That has to happen.
इंशाल्लाह. नहीं, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि वाकई आई थिंक सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग या वाइट लेबलिंग तो एक चीज़ है, बट वाकई एक ब्रांड बनाना फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान गोइंग इनटू द वर्ल्ड बहुत it'll be a fantastic achievement, and I hope and I pray that on the one hand e-commerce ka, obviously there's e-commerce within Pakistan, then there's e-commerce का एक जोर आता है कि the moment people get latched onto e-commerce तो फिर आपके लिए एक international e-commerce का भी inward flux भी होता है. But there's the whole flip side, the huge opportunity by virtue of COVID, कि आपकी e-commerce की orientation, literally you have global platforms जिस पे आप listing कर सकते हैं, and you're right कि middlemen are there, and buying houses are there who can also aid entries into various geographies. And I think cooperatives and forming industry क्या कह सकते हैं platforms would probably be helpful to help an overall sector जिस तरह हमारे textile ने माशाल्लाह किया है to grow on to an international level. So fantastic insights, Ahmed. Really appreciate your time. We are a couple of minutes over, for which I apologize. लेकिन माशाल्लाह wonderful words of wisdom जो कि आपने हमें दिए हैं. I hope that in the future, sometime soon, as we turn around the corner, hopefully on Omicron COVID as well, कि इंशाल्लाह आपको कैंपस पे बुलाएंगे so that we can have a guest lecture series. And जिस तरह आप लम्स के NIC में लोगों को assist करते हैं, hopefully we can benefit from a short mentoring session face to face as well in the near future.
Inshallah, Salim. Thank you so much for having me over. It was a pleasure to have this chat, and I, wish everyone watching, if I can give one parting, sentence to all the students, especially who are watching. Don't take the normal path. Don't look for just any job. Try building something. Try entrepreneurship. And if you don't try directly, creating something, join a company or some people who are in a startup phase, because जो आपकी learning उस phase के अंदर होती है ना, बाकी सारी जिंदगी है to do a job. So this is something जो coming out of university, the energy, the experience you get, this is a great path to try.
Thank you. बिल्कुल आपने सही कहा. And yes, we always encourage our students के off the beaten path try करें. अब तो startups का वाकई इतना ज़्यादा रुझान हो गया पाकिस्तान में, और वो आपने जितना कहा ना, legacy businesses तो चले हैं, लेकिन जो आपको startup के साथ flavor मिलेगा, breadth मिलेगी into groundbreaking work जो कि हो रहा है at an international level. तो truly, I think thank you, Ahmed. I will echo your sentiments कि ज़रूर try करें. And with that, I'll take the opportunity to thank you very much. हम बहुत मशहूर हैं, आपने हमारे लिए अपना time निकाला, हमें address किया. I'd like to thank our audience who's listening to us right now live, as well as those जो कि बाद में सुनेंगे. And inshallah, we will be in touch. Ahmed, thank you.
Thank you. Nafis.